At Dangote Refinery's production anniversary, Aliko Dangote revealed a $2 trillion investment in trucking, creating 24,000 jobs. He questioned moves to halt operations, noting the employment of drivers and mechanics. About 40 to 50 Chinese expats will train Nigerians for 3 months, while future plans include transitioning to electric vehicles.
Almost to the tune of 2 trillion naira in terms of trucking. How can somebody not just come and say, no, don't operate, park? Where and how? Nobody will lose his job. We are creating more jobs. We are looking for people now. If you have anybody, please introduce. We are employing drivers. We are employing mechanics. No, it's true. We have now a total of almost 40 or 50 Chinese only to stay here for 3 months and train Nigerians to be able to service this, because we can't afford foreigners. But locals, they can. You see, these trucks that we have, they are like Peugeot. You know Peugeot, that's why Peugeot was very, very good, was rugged. Any village that you go, when you have a problem, the mechanic in that village can repair it. So that's what these ones are. They don't need much of training. So forget about all this one, saying somebody will do. Which job is somebody going to? We are creating 24,000 jobs, minimum. I thought that we will stop at this one now. Next phase of our listing from January.
Well, there you have it. Moving now to our next conversation. The Central Securities Clearing System, CSCS, has received strong backing from capital market regulators and operators for its transition to a T+2 settlement cycle scheduled to commence on November 28. The market currently operates under a T+3 settlement cycle, which presents several challenges, including elevated counterparty risk, lower liquidity, operational inefficiencies, and exposure to market volatility. Transitioning to T+2 is expected to address these limitations and align the Nigerian capital market with international best practices. To unpack this, I'm joined by Onome Komolafe, Divisional Head, Business Services and Client Experience, CSCS PLC. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Perpetua. Very glad to be here.
All right, same here. Well, for some of us, the difference is just a day. So could you speak to us about the significance of this transition?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I agree with you. It's just 1 day, but that day has a lot of impact. I will speak about the impact for the investors and also for the market in terms of the market participants. For the investors, that 1 day means that you get your liquidity faster by 1 day. And what's the advantage to you? It means that you can actually reinvest that capital immediately you receive it. The second advantage to you as an investor is that the probability or the likelihood of failure is reduced by 1 day. As you know, the longer settlement cycle increases the likelihood of failure. And the shorter the settlement cycle, the less likely there would be for maybe a default. And so again, these are some of the expected benefits to the market for this. You also find that when for the market infrastructure and the market participants, this would also put us on the same page with global markets who are all moving to shorter settlement cycle. This would also enhance stability in the market, again, because we are having to reduce the risk around trading and settlement in the market. So there are a lot of benefits from the risk to the liquidity, to the attractiveness of the local market to foreign portfolio investors. The benefits are quite a number.
All right, you said something about, reducing the likelihood of failure, but I'm just wondering, does this mean that after getting my contract note telling me that a particular transaction has been successful, while I'm waiting to get the settlement, to get the money back into my wallet, does it mean that during that period of waiting, there is a likelihood that I get a message that says it's failed? I mean, I really want to understand how that works.
Okay, so in terms of the Nigerian market, which is what we're speaking about, we've never had any failure in the Nigerian market. But when you talk about capital markets generally, is there a probability of failure? Yes. When there's a transaction where there's a buy and a sell and there's exchange of value, that probability exists. But what you find out is that you have to adopt mechanisms, you have to put in place structure to ensure that those risks don't crystallize in the market, those failures don't happen. But is there a probability? Yes. The markets could move against one person or one trader or the other, and it might not be something that is pre-planned. Yes, that risk does exist, but it's never crystallized in the Nigerian market.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Now, talking about this transition, is it just for the NGX, or does it cut across other exchanges, maybe the LCFE, NASD, and the like?
Yes, it's not just the NGX. It cuts across all the exchanges that trade in equities and equity-related transactions and commodities. So yes, the NASD, the LCFE, and the NGX.
All right, so we understand that key regulators have actually, talked about this, and they've reaffirmed their readiness for this transition. But can you independently say that, all hands are on deck and everybody is ready for this transition to happen come November 28?
I can confirm to you that, yes, every market participant is a member of the Settlement Cycle Review Committee. We have representation across the market, the custodians, the brokers, the registrars, the exchanges. So every market participant is, the settlement banks even are part of this process. And so you have representation across the market, and everyone is ready for this shift and reduction in the settlement cycle.
All right, now beyond this milestone, SEC targets, transaction dates plus 1 day by 2026, while the ultimate goal is transaction day plus 0, which means the day the transaction happens, you get your money. What are the likely challenges on the way to achieving this, and how prepared are you and other stakeholders to navigate them?
As you reduce the settlement cycle, one thing is very clear. There will be more dependency on automation and technology to be able to ensure that certain interfaces are not manually driven. I would not call that a challenge. I would call that something that we're looking at, that we're very much aware of, and the market is ready to make those changes, make those updates as may be necessary. Another critical part about reduction of the settlement cycle to a T+1 is also to be able to make sure that not just the interfaces in terms of the systems, but also interfaces across the market. In terms of interfaces between the exchanges, the CSD, which is CSCS, the registrars, the custodians, so that intermarket interface should also be existent. Very critical to note is that there will be a huge dependence on technology and automation as we make this shift across the markets.
Right. Beyond the shortening of settlement days, what other innovations or developments should we expect for a more efficient, transparent, and globally aligned financial ecosystem?
Yeah, reduction in the settlement cycle, definitely a T+0 is what would be optimal. Instant settlement probably will even be more optimal than a T+0. That's one thing we should expect. Another thing we should also consider as we're looking forward is in terms of cross-border alignments between CSDs, a situation where, for example, you could be in Ghana and trade in shares in Nigeria and still receive your settlement. So those cross-border collaborations are things that should also be considered. Again, some of the things that are also being reviewed and considered looking forward is in terms of tokenization of the current securities that we have in such a way that you could have fractional sales of these securities. Another thing that we should also look forward to is also interoperability between the CSDs locally to also ensure that trades and settlement can happen irrespective of exchange or CSD that is maintained.
Right. Let me ask you this. I have 2 other questions that are not related to the T2. First, it just occurred to me that, I should talk to you about this. The NGX is talking about extending, trading time till 5 p.m. What's your take on that?
I think it's a very logical initiative. I think that is something that is long overdue for the Nigerian market. And of course, CSCS is ready to support that initiative. Currently, there are engagements going on towards this, and I'm sure it's something that would really benefit the market. Again, it puts us in a better stance internationally in terms of global positioning, because we have more time within the market. When you have foreign portfolio investors, they have more time to make their investments in Nigeria instead of having to probably lose a day of receiving those inflows. So yes, I think it's a lauded initiative, and it's something that we are working with the NGX to ensure that this is brought to reality.
Right. Now, this is the second one. I mean, this is the second time I'm actually putting this question to CSCS. Why is there a problem with the allotment of Fidelity Bank shares to some of the people who participated in the recapitalization exercise, whether it's rights issue or public offering, or even both? I'd like you to please comment on this, because I want to believe the allotment happened February 2025. Until now, we still have people who have not been credited. What exactly is the issue, or are the issues? And I do not even know if this is limited to Fidelity Bank, but this is the one I am aware about. I am aware of.
Okay, so not to just, and like you said, you don't know whether it's aware to Fidelity Bank, so maybe I should be a bit expansive in my response to this. The process today is that CSCS would respond to instructions from the registrars depending on the particular issue, in this case being Fidelity. Specific to Fidelity, what we have done is that we have concluded on those allotments in our books based on instructions that we have received from the registrar for Fidelity Bank. And I would also want to say that currently in CSCS, we don't have any pending allotments for any investor based on instructions from the registrars. Again, because this is a chain process, it's also important, maybe what we should consider is where in the chain, if there are actually issues around this, need to be sorted. But I can speak for CSCS that today, as of today, based on instructions that we have received from the registrars who have the responsibility to advise us for allotments, we do not have any pending allotment for any issuer in the Nigerian markets.
Right. So what's your advice to investors who are still waiting and they contact their stockbrokers, they tell them we're waiting for the registrar, and then there have been emails exchanged back and forth. They tell you to wait for 21 working days. That's a month. You wait, and then they still tell you to keep waiting. And the registrar isn't even speaking or responding to emails. They just tell you, we're going to respond to this, and you don't hear anything again. So, I mean, how should investors handle this moving forward?
So again, because this is a process, I would say speak to your broker. If you do not get the kind of response that you expect, speak to the registrar. If you do not get the kind of response that you expect, then I think at this point in time, you can escalate to the regulator to intervene.
All right, thank you.
That would be my advice.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, Onome Komolafe, Divisional Head, Business Services and Client Experience, CSCS, for your time and thoughts on the show today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Same here.